Tonight, the city of Lagos
there is still a poor level of
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core
a
TV
24-hour news station.
Good morning and welcome to Core Digest. Today we will be looking at the national conference, and it just ended. We'll look at the Rancor, and our focus will be on what next now that the national conference has ended. And I have here in the studio a legal practitioner who is going to help us out with that discussion. He is Tunde Kolawole. Sir, welcome to Core Digest.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Let me say good morning to all the people listening to us.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we're looking at the national conference. From the onset when it was inaugurated, it came with a lot of controversy. And when discussions set in, Nigerians were quite expectant of what is going to come out of the conference. Now, before we begin to look at what next, in your own view, can you give us a brief overview of what you think the conference has achieved?
Well, just like you said, there was a lot of hype, a lot of expectations. So many Nigerians, because of the challenges that the nation is facing, economically, politically, socially, and in all ramifications, to say, even in the field of infrastructure, I've been saying and wanting to see us sit down at a roundtable conference and try to find a solution to the myriad of problems and challenges that was facing the nation. So the inauguration of the national conference by President Goodluck Jonathan was a culmination of the agitation and yearnings of the Nigerian people to see us resolve some of the contradictions that could be found in the polity. As to what we could say that the conference has achieved, well, by and large, I would want to see or say that the conference could be said to have achieved 2 or 3 things. The first I will say is on the part of President Goodluck Jonathan. You want to agree with me that before the conference, there was a lot of pressure on him, massive pressure on the president, to such an extent that he could be described not to be comfortable with what was happening around him. So by inaugurating the conference, I would suspect that the president was able to douse the tension and the pressure that was also mounting on him since the conference was convoked, a little bit diffused. That is one. The second has to do with the generality of Nigerians as a people, as a nation. I would also think that since the convocation of that conference, the hype and all sorts of hysteria and the pressure also all over the country has in a way been diffused to such an extent now that the conference has come and it is going. All the hoopla, so to say, that we have had, let us sit at the right conference, let us meet, let us discuss and all. That tension has also seems to die down in the different parts of the country. The second one is our allies are very, very ingenious people. Each time they are idle, they will always invent one thing or the other to engage themselves. I would think that with the convocation of the national conference, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan has been able to provide just for some of the idle hands among the allies that we do have in this country. Lastly, even though our expectations were such that we wanted the fundamental issues facing the Nigerian nation to be addressed. But that has not happened. But you could say that some of the little challenges that we have here and there, at least they've debated it, and they are now making contributions that will, to some large extent, be useful to the National Assembly in really carrying out the constitutional amendment that they have embarked upon. So if you look at it from some of these perspectives and other, you could say by and large that the conference has been able to make some achievements, especially to me, I would say, in just dousing the tension that we do have in the land.
Okay, that was in detention. And if we juxtapose these with previous comments from some Nigerians who have argued that the conference is a waste of time. And in your opinion, will you agree to that statement that have been made in the past, even before it started? Some say it would just be a mere waste of time.
I would not totally subscribe to that in the sense that if that conference had probably not been called, it is not impossible by now that the federal government would have unraveled. There was a lot of pressure on the federal government, especially the presidency. So I would think that that conference in a way has been able to keep Nigeria together, at least for the time being, until our allies invent some modern new projects for themselves that they want to address. So it's not totally a waste of time. I also think that that conference in a way could be said to have created some forum for rapport, for understanding among the different segments of the allies that we do have across the divide, whether they be Igbo, whether they be Yoruba, whether they be Hausas and other, because a lot of misunderstandings among them. But when they now came together and then the man from Kano sees that the aspiration of his allies in Yoruba land is not totally different from the aspiration of the allies in Igbo lands and other, which is just a share of the common patrimony. That is what all this noise is all about. It has nothing to do really with the fundamental issues of allocation of resources in such a manner that the ordinary Nigerian person will benefit, that the life of the ordinary Nigerian person will be better off. For example, I never see any Marshall Plan as regards how we can really tackle the challenges of unemployment that we do have in this country. And if there are any other challenges, I don't think there's any other challenge that is more serious than the crisis of unemployment that we do have in this country today. You saw what happened when immigration advertised about 500 vacancies to be filled. Yeah. And you and I do know that our allies have, through the back door, filled about 400 of such vacancies, either by minister recommending one person, either by the special advisor recommending one person, either by one army general recommending one person to fill the vacancy, either by emirs, obis, and the districts recommending that their wards, cousins, and others should they say. And we drew the Nigerian youth to the stadium, pretending that we had jobs to give to them. You saw the mammoth crowd. You couldn't have even if a World Cup was being staged in those places and other. So what am I saying? That the fundamental issues such as unemployment, they have not been addressed. Allocation of resources in such a manner that the average Nigerian person will benefit, they have not been addressed. But like I said, if you are looking at the conference in terms of really creating a forum for our allies to jojo instead of war, I think we could say it has achieved some things.
But you say the fundamental issues that is facing the country have not been discussed in this conference.
Think so.
Then where is it taking us to?
Where the conference is not likely to take us far. I suspect that the recommendations of the conference is likely to end up at the National Assembly. And you and I do know that the National Assembly today has a project of trying to amend the Nigerian Constitution. So the outcome of this national conference could be seen as an input or as a kind of another memorandum to the National Assembly as regards what differences certain people or as regards what certain recommendations certain people who want to see incorporated into the amendment that is being proposed or being worked on by the National Assembly. Anything outside that, Nigerians will be disappointed if they are thinking that it will get more than that from this conference.
Now, when you talk about disappointment, is that not what some section of Nigerians have expressed even before the conference started?
Yes, I was one of those who expressed skepticism. And I think the late Bamidele Aturu will be laughing in his grave today because I was informed that they invited him to be part and parcel of the conference. And he said he was not going to be part and parcel of any jamboree, that the conference was going to be a mere waste of time, waste of resources, and dissipation of energy over nothing. So, when you look at it that way, you want to say that the conference is neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there. The Nigerian people would, reflecting on what has happened at that conference, saying we said it. We need nothing will come out of it. We need just going to be another talk show, just like the other conferences that have been held in the past. Obasanjo organizes one. Abacha also made some attempt. Of course, Babangida throughout his period of stewardship, he was always flying one kite or the other, either in terms of a constitutional conference, a constitutional amendment, all sorts of projects and other. It turned the whole country to a massive a laboratory for all sorts of political experimentation. This national conference could be said to be another political experiment on the part of our ally, on the part of Mr. President, to really get the people, to really get the allies off his back.
So why were those fundamental issues, like you mentioned, not put on the table of discussion? Is it because the constituted personnel in the conference lacked the direction to put those issues on the table, or the agenda was actually totally out of those fundamental issues?
Yeah, a fantastic question you would ask me. The first is to say that the character of the people that we have in that conference is one inhibition to really trying to address the fundamental issues that are facing this country. One, they are not representative of the people. If they were going to be, one would have expected some forms of elections to have been conducted, and people will signify their intention to go to the conference, and then their different constituencies will vote for them. And if they do succeed, that the polls are not, they will go to the conference carrying the banners of their different constituencies. In this instance, that was not the case that we saw. You just find that the majority of the people at that conference were handpicked by the federal government. The other ones are handpicked by the labor union. Some handpicked by the state governments and thereabouts. So you could not be they could not be said to really be carrying the flags of their different people. Yes, Femi Falana have said that the conference does not have a legal backing, but that it is legitimate. But I say there is a whole world of difference between legitimacy and then being legal. That is one. The people are not flying the flags of the people. They are not representing the people. The second one has also to do with the quality of the people that you find in that conference. And it is because they were selected. If you are going to, you really require to have people who are detribalized in that conference. You require to have people who have no religious affiliation. You really require to have less politicians in that conference, because most times when you have politicians in a place, in that kind of a gathering, what they're really thinking about is the next election and not about the state, not about the people. Different politicians coming from different backgrounds and other went there with their party manifestos behind their back, with their different ambitions behind their back, with their different prejudices behind their back. So when you have people who are flying the flags of their different political parties and not flying the flags of the average Nigerian person, you are never likely to get a good result from such a person. The third one has to do with the animosity between the different parts of the country and between our allies, principally because, our allies, because when I see the average person either coming from the north or coming from the east or coming from the west, and they assemble in Oshodi, you don't see any difference between them. They all relate as Nigeria, and people wanting to buy and sell, people wanting to take profit and then make gains in all their differences. But when our allies conglomerate, it's a different ball game altogether. A different ball game. So you had at that conference people who are purely politicians and not statesmen. And like I said, the politicians think about the next election, not about the state. And that makes a whole world of difference. Look at the line of debate. Even when the final draft of the resolution are going to be submitted in another, we saw certain people coming from certain sections of the country clapping and saying that a section of the country has won the fight against not incorporating certain things to different constitutions, to the conference reports and another. Whereas it shouldn't be another, because the challenge that is facing the average person in Borno State, the challenge that is facing the average person in Abia State, the challenge that is facing the average person in Lagos State and all that, is not different from when you look at it overall. Everybody wants a good shelter. Everybody will want to see his ward or his child when he leaves the university or the polytechnic, find a comfortable job. every other person will want standard hospitals all over the place, so that when there's a threat of Ebola disease, he can walk to the nearest hospital and get the best treatment that is available either in the US or in Germany and all. That is the way the average Nigerian person thinks.
Is that not the thing that is behind the mind of Mr. President when he said the unity of the country should not be put on the table during discussions in that conference? Is this not what he meant, or it's
yes,
else?
The unity of the... I agree with Mr. President on one thing, that the unity of this country is not negotiable. But that does not stop you from debating the fundamental issue. I give you an example. Religion. I thought with the challenge of the Boko Haram that we do have, and we are also now trying to contend with this, with Christian fundamentalism all over the place. A lot of people are not too conscious of that, but it is a reality on ground that just as you do have the Boko Haram challenges or the Islamic fundamentalism in the northern part of the country, a kind of Christian fundamentalism is also rising in the southern part of the country. I would have said that if we were at that conference, we'll be honest with them and say, look, we've come to this conference and we want to see and make Nigeria a secular state. That we will now recommend that it should be removed from the constitution. Anything that has to do with religion, that religion is going to be a private affair of all citizens of this country. And now when we go to a public function, what we shall be talking about and what we shall be reciting is just the national flag. Nobody, the national item. Nobody is going to go to any public country and start saying prayer either in Yoruba, either according to the Islamic or into the Christian or even the traditional religion. We just go to whatever public places and just recite the national anthem and make religion a secular. Make this country a secular state.
Is that a fundamental issue? That
it is very fundamental. It is very fundamental. Why I say it is fundamental is this. Everybody is talking about the Boko Haram challenge that we do have now. Nobody remembers that the Boko Haram is a culmination of certain things. If, for example, during the Nigerian independence, certain section of the country said, look, they wanted the country, their own section of the country, to be governed by the rule of the Sharia. And the other part said, no, we want the English common law. It was an issue before independence, to such an extent that people have to put their heads together and say, look, let the North have the penal code. Let the South have the criminal code. And the penal code, you are now aware that was adopted from or was taken from Pakistan and taken from India. It's a kind of abridgment of the Sharia. And then we went on from that. Somebody like Ahmed Yerima came and said he wanted the Sharia. Not a single state in the North said no to his proposal. All of them embraced it. And never before then we have had one religious challenges or the other. You remember people like Akaluka was beheaded in Kano and his head put on a spike. For allegation that the wife used the sheet of the Quran to wipe the buttocks of the daughter when the daughter defecated. And then the police arrested him. He was in the police custody, and certain religious fundamentalists went to the police custody and abducted him, cut off his head and put it on a spike and carried it around the whole of Kano. With camera, television camera, empty, and everybody recording it. Nobody has been prosecuted for that heinous crime. Not a single person saw anything wrong with that. So these were the values that certain people were being fed with in that section of the country. And then you have also the elementary challenges and all that. If at the time that all these people, all these ugly things were rearing their head, certain people have been honest to say, look, we won't make religion a state thing. We make it a personal thing. Whether it be Christian, whether it be Muslim. We also have the courage to expunge from our statute book all those Christian pilgrim boards, Muslim pilgrim boards and all that, which is a mere waste of money and a jamboree. You know, so religion is they never had the courage to debate that. All of them were shying away from it. And when you see them at every day and when they are closing the conference, they still stand up and say they were either reciting prayers in Islamic way or in the Christian way. That was an issue for me.
But most Nigerians have agreed and have also contested the fact that it is these prayers that have been keeping the country together.
Yeah. Prayer is good. I'm not.
Yeah. So, well, isn't it going
I
to
am
be
also a believer.
Isn't it going to be an issue with the ordinary Nigeria?
No,
when we
it
say,
will
let's
not
make it a
be.
complete secular state.
It will not be. It is the airline that raise religion to the pedestal of acrimony that it most times attain among people. I am not. Before I came from my house this morning, I said my prayer very quietly. And my neighbors, or I also had some of them say their prayer. Nobody disturbs one another. If we leave it at that level, I think we are going to be better off as a nation, rather than making it a state policy or putting it and signing it under the Nigerian Constitution.
Did the Constitution elaborately talk about these religions? And I think the Constitution is silent about it.
It's not totally silent when you look at all the preambles and some of the things that we are putting there. If it is silent over it, over what? Why are we having organizations like the Pilgrim Welfare Board, Christian Muslim Welfare Board, Muslims Welfare Board? If the ordinary traditional religious person also said they want to have their own welfare board, what is going to happen?
Probably because they don't have sort of...
They are not organized as the Christian and the Muslim.
Or sort of religious annual...
Oh, they are. When I was growing up, I don't know what it has become. Now, I do remember that in my village, on an annual basis, the traditional religious people usually do their own religious activities. The Ogbonis will do their own, the Gungun, the Masquerades will do their own, ditto right. For the Ifa priests and what have you. But the Christians came and the Muslims came trying to discourage people, trying to make people think that all those things are fetish and that nobody should go near them.
Away from that now, what other fundamental issue that will have taken Nigeria forward?
Another one is resource control and revenue allocation.
I think it was
and also state police. And also state police. But has it been addressed
the way... These issues were discussed.
They were discussed, but has they been resolved the way you and I would have wanted this resolved? For example, on the state police, they said people would abuse it. If we allow state police to be created, the state would abuse, they will use it to persecute their political enemies. And I said, if people are familiar with Nigerian history, they wouldn't be talking that way. Is the federal police now not being used, not being abused? Is they not being used to persecute political opponents? Look at what happened in Osun State in the recent election. Did the federal government not abuse its police authority, the police power that it has in its hand? Look at the security that they took there, the DSS, the police, and the soldiers. Was it in support of another political party rather than the party that was at the federal level? All you require to do, people will always abuse whatever powers is present in their hand, except you put some safeguards in there, constitutional provisions, legal provisions. To such an extent that once people abuse whatever power is put in their hands and all that, we would have the courage to take them or arraign them before appropriate court of law and push through their prosecution and then punish them. The president of US cannot just ask a police to go and arrest his political opponent without him facing impeachment the following day. Now somebody has done it in Osun State. Some people, the political party that was at the receiving end, has raised hue and cry. And look at the kind of defense that the authorities are putting forward. What happened in Osun State is enough infraction to say we are going to the National Assembly to table an impeachment proceeding against whoever may have sent those police to Osun State to intimidate and harass people. And if you also look at our history, state police is not new in this country. It has always been there. It was when the military came into power in 1966 or thereabout that they trampled and removed all those things. In those days, the different districts, emirs and Oba, used to have their own police. Go and check your history.
But they ceased to
the local government used to have their own police. Ditto for the state. But when the military came, because of the way and manner they concentrate powers in their hands, the head of state personifies everything. The governor at his own level will personify everything. The local government chairman personifies everything. They are the state. Just like the man, the emperor, the former emperor of France would say that I am the state. If we had allowed the state police, the local government police, even if a district say they want to have their, but if we allow and we put all the safety valve in there so that people don't abuse it, and we allow it to grow, initially there may be one or two abuses and another, but with time people would master those things. When their business are being challenged and all that, and the courts are ruling, then with time everybody will grow and everybody will know, and people in power will know that it is wrong to abuse power.
Where will not be some kind of clash between looking at our society, between the federal and the state police when it's being created?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like I said, if you put in constitutional provision safeguards in there, and you also put in all the different laws that we do have in the country, all the safety valve that you require to do, you are not likely to have that. I'll give you an example. In Nigeria today, or in Lagos today, you do have the LASMA. And you also have the Federal Road Safety Corps. And you find out that all of them have been operating side by side without any clashes. If the Federal Road Safety Corps will be alive to their responsibility, and if they will read the Constitution, they will know that they're expected to operate only on the federal roads. And then the LASMA could only operate on the state roads. You also have the VIO. It is just putting people in there who have the enlightenment. It is all people in there who have been properly briefed as regards where their power starts and where it ends.
Okay, so
if you have such clearly defined boundaries, I am sure we should be getting good results.
Okay, we'll take a break now, and then we'll come back to continue on where this constitutional conference is going to take us. Even as it ends, what's next? Viewers, it's been Core Digest, and we'll be talking about the end of the national conference. What next? We'll take news on the hour and we'll be back. Stay with us.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena,
the most detailed and incisive political show.
If you are a sitting governor and the opposition is able to stomach structure against you, that means you are wicked to the people.
Until the end of our time, I'm the legitimate authority to govern this country.
Give me 20 minutes to move or they will shoot me.
He has no chance for survival. If he likes himself, this is the best time to get out before it perishes.
The PDP as a ruling party has failed.
So anybody who thinks that government will fold his hands and allow miscreants to take over the streets of our own state and cause havoc is deceiving himself.
the good, bad, ugly, and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News.